What's up, party people? Today we're going to be looking at Dekaron's new instance group dungeon, Test of Unknown Mazokie. So make sure to subscribe to my channel and like the video if you find this helpful or entertaining. Let's get this show on the road. So I finally got a chance to check out Dekaron's new 190 group instance dungeon, Test of Unknown Mazokie. Now, it took me a long time to make this video. As you know, this dungeon has been out for, I think, at least a week now, maybe a little bit more, and I have actually been trying to do it, but I've been unsuccessful. My first issue I ran into is that in order to do this dungeon, you have to have Heffron armor. Now, when I first read that, I totally overlooked that, and I was thinking, oh, Heffron armor, like any Heffron piece, and I had Heffron boots, so I'm like, I'll be able to do this dungeon, no problem. So after searching around for a bit, I found some people to try out the dungeon with, only to find out that no, in fact, you specifically need the body piece in order to enter the dungeon. So after checking the agency and spamming in our Deca for a bit, I conceded to making myself a piece of Heffron armor. So after getting all the pieces and starting to craft it, I waited 3 days and I finally got my Heffron armor. If you're curious what the stats are, they're bad. I got like 800 block and like 100 all resistance or something like that. It's not a good piece of armor. I'm not going to bother trying to upgrade it or anything like that, but it does get me into the dungeon, so it worked for that. So that's a very unique requirement to get into this dungeon, so I have to say I find that extremely interesting. Now, I did finally manage to find a party. I did actually go here every day after work and try to get a party, and I was unsuccessful for a very long time, but just the other day I was doing something, I can't remember what it was, maybe like my solo dungeons or something like that, and someone was shouting, and I managed to get a party here. So very happy about that. So what do I think of this dungeon? Overall, the dungeon is pretty good. I can't say I really have any complaints about that. There doesn't really seem to be anything special about it or unique about it. It's just kind of running from area to area, killing a bunch of mobs, and then killing a boss, breaking stones, killing hidnals. It's really nothing unique. I guess it's different than the other dungeons we've seen, but I didn't really notice any like special mechanics or anything like that. I mean, the party I had was pretty strong, so I guess I didn't really need to worry about that, but at least for the most part, I was able to not really pay that much attention and just kind of run with the party and attack and kill stuff. So I guess I can't complain too much. Overall, the difficulty of the dungeon doesn't seem too high, but it is very useful to have signals in your party, and as you can see here, we have a couple signals in the party. I do like the shift towards requiring a healer in dungeons that Dekaron has been doing. You know, for a lot of the new dungeons that they've been releasing, like the 185 dungeon in Matira, or the Karen's transport ship dungeon, and this dungeon, it's really useful to have a signal. Like, so it just makes it much easier, and if you accidentally mess up and die, then at least you can get the res and you can keep going. So I like that they're valuing signals in that way in order to do these party dungeons. I just wish that Dekaron had more players so that it wasn't so hard to find parties for these kind of dungeons. But I do really value that they're making signals more viable. Not that signals aren't already strong, they're good for PvP and stuff, but to make them, you know, almost required in these dungeons, I think is pretty cool. So like I said, bosses were all pretty easy, pretty much just ran straight through this dungeon, didn't really have any issues. I don't think I even got close to dying once, but we also had 3 signals, once again. The one thing that I do really like about how they did this dungeon is at the end, after you finish the final boss, you get a reward, and the reward is one of the items that you need for crafting the new Helion armor, and I think that is awesome. I constantly, sorry guys, I moved into a new place, and there's a dog above me, and he won't stop barking today, and I can't do anything about it. Anyway, I do really like that they added in the ability to get the Helion armor items like in an instanced way, so that it's not just one drop at the end that everyone has to fight over that you might get when the party's on the random. Everybody gets some type of a reward for finishing the boss. Now, the final boss does drop other things as well. I know he drops one of the other items that you need, and that is probably something that you have to get on your own, but at least you get some of the other items from the actual reward for doing the dungeon. So I think that's awesome. The final boss has a lot of HP. As you can see here, it takes a very long time to take out the final boss. Once again, the mechanics don't really seem that complicated. You just kind of attack him. He has one ability that seems to knock everyone back, and he summons minions every once in a while. But besides that, you know, he's just kind of a giant meatbag. So you just kind of beat him up until he finally goes down. And once you do, you turn in your quest, you leave, and you get your reward. So I definitely think the dungeon is worth checking out. You really, in order to get it done quickly, you really need to have a full party. I'm guessing that Seg Rippers are going to be great for this just because they have that insanely high melee damage. And I feel like melee damage seems to be doing pretty well here. At least for me, my damage seems to be mitigated a decent amount, so they probably have pretty good magic resistance, but we still managed to get through this dungeon pretty quick. I think overall, I mean, I've got this clip sped up, but I think overall we managed to knock the dungeon out in about, you know, somewhere between like 15 and 20 minutes. So not horrible. So yeah, overall I enjoyed the dungeon. I can't say that I'm planning on farming this dungeon a bunch. I'm not planning on trying to farm a bunch of the healing armor because I have no interest in trying to upgrade that. I think it's a giant waste of time and a bunch of resources that I don't have, but save up some money and maybe one day in the far, far future, I'll be able to buy myself some shiny new healing armor. Anyway, I don't know if I'm going to plan on making a guide for this dungeon or not. It seems pretty self-explanatory. Hopefully this video will be enough of that. Unless you guys specifically would like a guide, probably just going to skip that and leave this up there. But yeah. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. You know, if you want to see more of my content, make sure to subscribe. As I mentioned earlier, if you found this video helpful, a like would really be appreciated. If you have any questions or suggestions, as always, you can leave them in the comments. And until next time, guys, take care.